As someone with ADHD, one minute things can be absolutely fine. The next minute we can find ourselves caught up in an emotional whirlwind where it feels like everything is falling apart. In this video, I'm going to explain why this is so common for people with ADHD, the huge consequence that it has, and what the hell we can do about it. For those of you who are new, my name's Chris and I help fellow ultra-normal brains focus, grow, and get stuff done. And you know, this topic is actually something that's really close to my heart. For years, I struggled to know really even what emotions are, let alone what I was feeling, let alone what I could do about it. So stick around until the end, as there's going to be a lot of information that you don't want to miss. There's kind of three main challenges with emotions and ADHD. There's alexithymia, there's emotional dysregulation, and then there's the impulsivity. So one of these things on its own is tough enough, but all three can feed into each other and exaggerate the issues that us ADHDers face. So let's break it down one by one. So first up is alexithymia. So alexithymia is essentially problems observing and naming emotional processes. So basically recognizing and naming those emotions. And this causes confusion around the sensations that are connected to our emotions as well. It can be the struggle to communicate emotions to other people. So being able to say, hey, I feel XYZ. And there's a lot of research that suggests a significant overlap between people with ADHD and alexithymia. So a lot of people with ADHD will exhibit these symptoms of alexithymia. And there was a study on ADHDers that found 41.5% of them had alexithymia. So it's very common in people with ADHD. And it can be commonly associated with other mental health conditions like depression and anxiety as well. But ultimately, alexithymia is the struggle to really name and recognize emotions. The second challenge is emotional dysregulation, which is challenges regulating emotions. So people with ADHD can often struggle to regulate their emotions. We can experience intense mood swings that can be difficult to control. And this happens in the prefrontal cortex. This is responsible for regulating our emotions. And for people with ADHD, the prefrontal cortex is kind of the key to where our challenges lie. But emotional dysregulation also happens in the limbic system, which is involved in the emotional processing. And with people with ADHD, we can struggle with a dopamine imbalance. So it's characterized by a dysregulation of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter involved in regulating our mood and emotions. And this imbalance in people with ADHD can contribute to difficulties in our emotional regulation. And we can become very sensitive to stimuli. So people with ADHD can be more sensitive to emotional stimuli, heightened emotional reactions to situations that may seem insignificant to other people. And then there's our impulsivity, which is we can be quite famous for. So because of the challenges regulating our emotions, we can have difficulty in regulating our actions. We can struggle with challenges with acting on our thoughts and feelings. So when we feel strong emotions and we feel very intensely about something, because of the challenges that we have, we can also then act impulsively on those feelings as well. So when we feel a strong emotion, we're more likely to act on it in a strong way. And these actions aren't necessarily the most effective actions in the moment. And these actions also impact our emotions as well. So our actions, when we perform those actions based on large emotions, then we can start to feel guilt, shame, etc. Because of the way that we've acted. So it can actually have a further impact on our emotions. So emotions and actions actually end up in a feedback loop for us. So you have your thoughts, you have your feelings, your emotions, and then you have your actions. And each of them has an impact on one another. And this can be a feedback loop. So an example on a good day, for whatever reason, let's say you wake up and you find yourself in a really good mood. And because of those good feelings, you find it a lot easier to get along with your day and do the things that are what you want to do, right? And as a result, you feel better about yourself, you feel better about your day, and then you're more open to noticing the positive things about the day. You feel grateful for how your friends are, you feel grateful for your relationship, you notice that the sun is shining outside, and you start to feel good about yourself. So as you go throughout your day, your mood feeds into your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and ends up in a positive feedback loop. And because of this, we perform more positive actions. We are kinder to people. We're more forgiving to people. And because of this, people treat us better. because they feel good about being around us because we're in a positive mood. So we have better conversations, we have better communications. Our thoughts and our feelings and our actions all compound and bring us into a better place overall. But this also happens on a bad day. So let's say for whatever reason you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you find yourself in a bad mood. And because you wake up in a not so great mood, you don't really feel inspired or motivated to do the things that you have on your goal list to do, or the things that are best for you. And you find it a real struggle. And then because you find it a struggle, then you start to feel worse about yourself. And your perspective, your thoughts start to become biased to seeing the negative things. You start to notice what's wrong with the world today, about all the things, bad things on the news. You don't notice the good things that are happening. You start to talk sharply with friends and colleagues. And because of that, they start to maybe steer clear a little bit of you because they don't want to get on your nerves. And then you take that in a bad way, and you start to then look at your friends and colleagues as people who are annoying and they don't understand you. And as you can see, this then can turn into a negative feedback loop, and everything can feed into each other. And it's very rare that there is a neutral feedback loop. It's usually either positive or negative, which is why sometimes days can get better and you can end on a really high note, or things can get worse and worse and you can end the day on a really low note. And as you can see, all of these thoughts, feelings, and actions feed into each other. So there's a quote by Weldon Long: "Your thoughts drive your emotions drive your actions drive your results." And this is true. The more that we manage our thoughts, the more that we can manage our emotions, the more that we can manage our actions. So what can we do with emotions? How can we manage our emotions? Well, the first main point is you can't directly control your emotions. It'd be really nice just to be able to make yourself happy or calm yourself down when you feel angry, but the fact is that they're already happening. It's kind of like trying to close the barn door after the horse has bolted, is the phrase. So you can't directly control your emotions. And one of the main challenges with emotions is that a lot of people try to control them in the moment. They try to use willpower to stop themselves from feeling sad or anxious. And resisting them actually makes them bigger. Psychologist Carl Jung said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." So in trying to stop your emotions from happening, they actually get bigger, and you add on more and more layers of emotions to deal with. So we need to go one step further back to our thoughts. But changing thoughts is difficult. It is possible, but it takes time. And I'm actually going to do another video on the impact on thoughts and how to change them. So make sure you are subscribed for that video. But one of the ways to start managing our emotions is to start naming them and externalizing them over time. So naming your emotions is called affect labeling. And this can actually help to calm strong emotions down. There's a phrase which is, I think it was coined by Brene Brown, which is name it to tame it. So naming your emotions and actually getting into the habit of labeling the emotions that you're feeling actually helps to tame those strong emotions. And this is one of the main steps in emotional regulation, which is naming the feelings that you're having. Another thing that we can do over time is externalizing these emotions. So externalizing your emotions is one way to sort of start developing that emotional literacy and developing our ability to recognize the emotions that we're feeling. So we may not always have the right words in the moment, but the more we start to externalize and write down the things that we are feeling, the more that we start to develop the words and the verbiage in order to start recognizing them. And again, because we're externalizing them and we're naming them, it actually starts to help to tame them. It makes them less scary to us because it's not something that is unusual in our mind. And this is especially important for men. I'm sorry, guys, but the fact is that we can struggle a lot more than women when it comes to our emotions. And I personally have gone through this exact scenario where a while back, before I started therapy, I didn't really recognize what I was feeling. And because of all those thoughts inside my head, they came out in ridiculous ways because I didn't understand what it was, whether I was scared, whether I was happy, angry, whatever it was. And this is why things such as therapy or journaling, for example, helps so much, because you're externalizing your thoughts, your feelings, and you're doing it without judgment. You're simply expressing yourself. And the more that you do that, the more you can start to understand yourself. And all of this, developing emotional literacy, helps with the alexithymia because alexithymia is struggling to recognize emotions. So like I said, things such as journaling, keeping a diary of the triggers and the feelings that you have, and the more that you do this, the more you'll develop your skill. And I'm actually going to do another video on masculinity and ADHD that will link into this, but as a guy, I can recognize the idea of thoughts and feelings being a kind of a nebulous idea, something that floats up above and there's no real science behind it. But the fact is that managing your emotions is just a skill. It's a skill that you can develop and learn. And the more, like we said, the more that you can manage your emotions, the more that you manage your actions, and the more that you can manage the things that you do in the most effective way. So it is a skill that you can develop. And one of the ways that we could do that is to really start to look at the root causes of the feelings and thoughts and emotions that you have. The more that you look inwards at the roots of your own feelings, the more you'll start to develop that self-awareness and the ability to recognize what you're feeling and be able to manage your actions accordingly. Developing self-awareness is the key to be able to start managing your emotions and therefore your actions. And if you want to dig deeper into developing self-awareness and taking feedback, then I've got a video for you right here. I'll see you over there.